All right. Well, welcome everyone. My name is Eric SB. I am the Recruitment and Student Services Manager here at Carnegie Mellon University Online. Thank you everybody for joining us this evening. I'm joined by Jessica and Cade, who are going to be here to give their perspectives on their experience with the 3D bioprinting and biofabrication graduate certificate. So thank you both for attending tonight and helping us out. And we also have Marlene here. Some of you have already probably been in touch with Marlene already, who's our program specialist, and she helps our prospective students learn a little bit more about the program and eventually apply. So we'll go into some details towards the end on how Marlene can help you out here when we get to the end of the presentation. But without further ado, let's get started. Before we dive into the 3D bioprinting and biofabrication program, some of you might not be familiar with CMU Online. So we're a relatively new unit. Right now, we have a suite of 7 programs. They're all graduate level online certificates. And as you can see, we have the list here. We cover everything from foundations of data science, generative AI, managing AI systems. We have our program here at the bottom, 3D bioprinting and biofabrication. So we're really excited that these graduate certificates are offering a really great alternative for folks that are working full-time, trying to gain graduate level credentials through CMU, while also not just sacrificing work and family life. And just to add on to that, uh, there's a lot of certificates out there, right? So lots of options. It's kind of hard to distinguish sometimes between different certificates and what they're offering. We really feel like we're unique, and here's some of the reasons why. First and foremost, even though this is a graduate certificate, it is graduate level credit bearing coursework. So this is a huge driver and draw for many of our prospective students. The reason being is that at the end of this, you're not just going to be getting a badge that you just plug on your LinkedIn and said, "Yay, I got this." You're actually going to be getting a fully fledged transcript with official grades that you've earned through this coursework. I personally have worked with some students that have graduated from this program, and they've actually used those credits to transfer into a master's level degree or another graduate level degree program. So it's a huge advantage that even though this is online, it's a certificate, you're able to gain those credit bearing courses. And then additionally, we do have, coupled with the credit bearing coursework, we have CMU faculty. So this is something that is a huge plus sign for many of our students that are going through the program. You're not just going to be taught by adjuncts all over the place, and it's not going to be, faculty that are not affiliated with CMU itself, but these are fully fledged CMU professors that are going to be teaching the course. And we've gotten a lot of great feedback from our students in this program in particular, that's been a huge plus sign, as well as coupled with the weekly live online class sessions. And so you can see that box in the top right. We do, even though this is an online program, we do have weekly live online classes. So that's been a huge plus and a huge benefit for many of our students, where even though some of the coursework is going to be self-paced and you're going to be doing it on your own, you're not a lone wolf at the end of the day because you will be able to attend these live class sessions, usually held in the evenings on Zoom, and you're able to interact with the professor, fellow classmates, making sure that you're understanding the material as you're progressing through the actual program. And then finally, some of you, like I mentioned already, have been working with Marlene. We understand that most of you are working full time and want to balance this at the same time. And that's something that was top of mind whenever we were creating these graduate certificates. So these have been designed for the full-time working professional, and that's been a huge benefit for the fact that, again, you can work full-time and take this program. I know there's a lot on this slide, so I'm not going to dive too deep into the program schematics. But just to give a ballpark of what the 3D bioprinting and biofabrication graduate certificate is, we'll start with who it's for. So a lot of students that are coming to the table looking to take this program are biomedical engineers in various departments. We see industry professionals in the bioprinting space or the biomedical space that want to just make an impact on the next generation of tissue engineering technology. And then we also have an assortment of healthcare professionals that are just looking to gain this skill and get it underneath their belt. So, as we all know, 3D bioprinting and biofabrication, that's a very niche subject. But we do have a lot of students that have been in the healthcare profession for a long time and in many disciplines that want to gain this skill set. And this is a great way for you to be able to do that from the comfort of your own home. Things that you're going to be learning, as you can imagine, you're going to be learning to design and fabricate biomedical scaffolds that are used in tissue engineering, drug delivery, medical devices. If you look at the third bullet point here, this has been a huge draw for many of our students that you understand the needed steps to translate from lab testing to FDA approval. So that's been a huge plus sign for many of our students. And then you're also going to be learning things like advanced cellular and tissue engineering methods. So those are just examples of things that you're going to be learning throughout the program. And like I mentioned, if you haven't been working with Marlene already, and you are curious to seeing the minute details of each of the courses that you're going to be taking, we can supply you with sample syllabi just so you can get a little bit of a deeper dive into the takeaways from each of the programs or courses. And then to round this out, we wanted to just show you what the actual courses are and what it would look like over the span of time of taking the courses in this program. So first and foremost, this is just if you were going to be starting in the spring, which is going to be our next start date. We have the Bioprinting and Biofabrication course. And then the next semester will be the summer semester. You'll be taking tissue engineering then. And then finally, you'll round everything out with biomaterials. So that's going to be the last course that you would take. So, long story short, if you start this term in spring of 2026, you would end the entire program and finish it by the end of 2026. So that's just a little ballpark snapshot of what the program is going to look like and the courses affiliated with it. All right, without further ado, would love to introduce Jessica. Jessica, would you like to just tell us a little bit about yourself? What really drew you to the certificate? That would be great.
Yeah, hi, my name's Jessica. I call myself a scientist. I work at Boston Scientific, and I've been working a long time. So I went to college and I studied biochemistry, and then I got my PhD in biochemistry at BU, and then I've been working ever since, mostly, honestly, at Boston Scientific for many years. So um, the thing that drew me to this program was, kind of being in the workforce for a while, like, and really being an academic while I was in grad school. There's definitely like a gap in terms of kind of learning the new technologies and things like that. And obviously, I was aware of hearing about bioprinting, and there's a lot of 3D printing happening around where I work. But it was more like I realized I need to fill a gap, and I I just when I saw that there was like a graduate level certificate that I could do it online, I was like, and also my work does reimburse for some courses. So it was like I was like, I have to take this because it's going to be an awesome opportunity. So I signed up for it, and I'm really glad I did.
Thanks. Yeah, that's great. Thanks for sharing that. And sharing that you had a positive experience in the certificate itself. I mean, it is daunting. It's like, hey, if I've been out of school for a while and now I'm about to jump back into courses, let alone
Mhm.
courses that are from CMU, it's a challenge, but it's great that, you came out on the other side and succeeded. So thanks for sharing that, Jessica.
Yep.
All right. Next we have Cade.
All right, perfect. Well, yeah. So, I mean, my name's Cade Toth. I'm a little younger. I'm 23. I'm still kind of early in my career right now. So it's kind of a challenge. But I went to I did some UConn coursework in biotechnology in high school, like a magnet school kind of program. I always knew I wanted to do some kind of like STEM, kind of biology, chemistry. And end up going to Virginia Tech for nanoscience, and I majored in nanomedicine, which was really cool. I did a lot of stuff with like protein stability, and kind of like different working with different drugs, and so it kind of helped me get my foot in the door as an associate scientist at Alexion. It's a pharmaceutical company. It's under AstraZeneca, it's a subsidiary of them. But it's a lot of fun there, and honestly, I've really it's definitely a great entry level position. I've learned so much there. I work in downstream processing of pharmaceutical drugs, so I kind of work like in the I guess the engineering side, like making the drugs on the second half of their fabrication. But I mean, with this specific program, it was awesome for me. I just kind of graduated my undergrad, I didn't know if I wanted to jump into a full master's or if I, what I wanted to do. But I found this program and ended up, letting me take only 3 courses. It was 1 year, and I think it was a perfect way to kind of like continue my education and differentiate myself from the other undergraduates. Um, and it ended up teaching me some really good skills that I use to this day. I was just talking about this earlier with Eric, where you end up learning. They give you a SolidWorks membership. You end up learning CAD, doing a lot of different biofabrication stuff, and I use that in my lab now with the bioreactors that we have. I know I'm constantly printing parts for different things. It's definitely taught me some skills that have helped me in my field, and I'll definitely carry on. So yeah.
That's great. Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Caden. Yeah, I mean, again, the benefit is that these are credit-bearing courses. So if you ever want to pursue another degree, I mean, you have that in your back pocket, which is just a huge advantage. But yeah, thanks for sharing that.
Of
Um,
course.
let's jump into the questions. So Jessica, you can kick us off here. How did the program meet or differ from your expectations?
Yeah, so maybe because I've been working for a while and I haven't been a student more recently, like I never took an online course. So I just kind of assumed it would be kind of like not like a real class, but I was still wanted to take it and everything. But then and I kind of just thought it would be a little bit more anonymous and kind of just feel like I was kind of reading stuff on my own and kind of independently learning. And then like when I the first class, I realized, oh, okay, like I'm really back in school. I felt I'm actually a student. I'm actually learning. I'm part of the class. There's like back and forth conversation, total interaction with the professor. Um, and also like what Kate was saying, like there's people of all different experience levels. Like there's some people that have been are doctors and have been working for decades. So there's people that are just out of school, and there's people that are like more engineering side, like mechanical engineering, even more than the bio. And then there's people that are like mostly bio, which was me. And yeah, so I wasn't expecting it to like meld so well together with all these people with different experiences, but it was almost a little bit like being in the workplace because that's kind of how it is when you start working too. Um, so like I thought that was kind of unexpected. And then the other thing that I kind of just assumed there'd be like exams and I would get into like, studying mode again or have to. And, yes, I was working full time. So um, it was a little bit more, it was more like homework and project based and also a very flexible schedule. So it was um, it was a little bit again more like real world, like let's problem solve this, let's go into a breakout session, let's learn about it, let's try to figure out how we would do this. And yeah, and then like the other piece that was unexpected was the for the bioprinting semester was the kitchen. Like we were able to do everything that because I work in a lab, so I was like, how are they going to pull this off? Like not everyone has a centrifuge or a stir plate stuff, but that's set up so you can do it in your kitchen. And I did it in my kitchen as well because it was also like the end of my work day. I wouldn't want to go do my homework in my kitchen. So it was really cool. And it was like strangely doable to do the lab part of the bioprinting class in your kitchen. So yeah.
That's great. Yeah. Honestly, we hear that a lot where the least used room in the house is usually the dining room. So it just becomes your mini lab. Uh,
Totally.
yeah, that's great. Thanks for sharing that, Jessica. Cade, what about you?
I definitely share some similar experiences there where I didn't kind of know what to expect going in, especially with the lab at home lab portion. And I was very
Mhm.
pleasantly surprised with how robust it was and how just like how much you're able to actually do at home. Like I've even explained that to my coworkers. They were kind of like, "There's no way you're doing that," because I mean, you 3D print parts to rebuild a 3D printer into a bio printer, like an extrusion bio printer. And it's just crazy. You're able to do all that stuff. They tell you exactly what to order, what to do. I'm in the basement, concrete unfinished basement in my mom's house, just getting it done. And it was a lot of fun. And it was just really cool that like all these like, experiments actually worked. And then on top of the actual like physical lab work, there was some really cool kind of like integrated labs, I guess, where they'd send you a lot of data and you kind of like process it as you would in a lab. It was very similar to some of the stuff that I do in my current job, because obviously I was working full time. So it was like it wasn't too much where I felt like I couldn't I couldn't do all of it, but it was definitely like surprisingly a lot of kind of like fun lab experiments. And then when it comes to like the program, yeah, I definitely didn't think it was like going to be an actual. Like, I didn't obviously I knew it was actual graduate level courses, but I didn't really realize that like it actually like it was an actual transferable like real course. I've seen even like in looking at masters that you could absolutely like transfer a biomaterials course over. It's the same exact course you'd take otherwise.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, it's surprisingly applicable when you first look, you're first looking at an online program, like it's not going to be that interactive. I'm probably going to be watching some videos here and there, but from both
Yeah.
your experiences, it seems like very hands-on.
Mm.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks for sharing that. And Kate, we'll start with you again. So what was your experience like with the instructors and or the course materials?
Um, well, personally, I loved the what's called Dr. Pacheco. She was awesome and very just like it was great working with her. She was very understanding. I with work I have my work at least the way it kind of is there's ebbs and flows. I work some weeks genuinely I was working 60-hour weeks pure, if we have big projects, I was purifying a lot of different like experimental drugs. And then some weeks it was just, there's not much. I was doing notebooking. It wasn't as difficult. So those are the weeks I do a lot of this class. And so like she allowed me to, some weeks not really do as much and then like kind of catch up on like kind of like, basically operate at my own schedule with work, which really helped me a lot. Because there's just some weeks that I couldn't do it all. She's very understanding and also very, very knowledgeable. We just enjoyed kind of being in the class.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks for sharing that. Jessica, but what about you?
Um, yeah, so it's a I'm sure probably a lot of current college students probably use Canvas, but that was my first time using Canvas, and it was, it's basically just like everything's laid out for you, like when it's due, like everything's digital, you can download your PDFs and stuff like that. So it was, in terms of using Canvas, that was totally user friendly. And then like I guess it was the like in terms of like the topics, it was, it's pretty heavy. If you think about it, like biomaterials is a huge span of information. And so same thing with tissue engineering and also 3D bioprinting. So there was
Mm,
definitely like a lot of material, but it was also like very selective. So it was kind of like, I don't know who designed it, but they did it really well because it was kind of like narrowed it down a lot of information to like kind of like so that you got the core concepts and that if you wanted to dive deeper, you could. Um, and like one thing that I liked, probably just because I am a scientist, like there's a lot of the reading of the papers, the biological papers and the scientific papers. So there's like perusal, and that's, you basically like read it on your own, but you can make comments. You can kind of see what other students are asking. You can kind of ask the same question, or you could, write back to them, or and I know um, Rochelle would always go through and answer our questions on the scientific paper part. So that was the cool, because you could kind of just read it to understand it, and just, if it wasn't really like what you wanted to dive deeper into, that's fine. But if you did want to dive deeper, you could totally get so much out of just reading those papers. So um, that's what I liked in terms of the coursework. It was very like funneled to what mattered, but you could dive deeper if that's what interests you, or if that's what's applicable to like what you're doing in your work life. So and then yes, like what Kate said, total flexibility. So I definitely recommend trying to stay on top of it, but I also realize, working full time, sometimes you just can't. So I think I got more out of it when I was able to kind of do the pre-work before the course that covered it. But there were definitely weeks where I couldn't, and I would catch up, and it was totally fine. We could rewatch the lecture. And then, yeah, like especially the bioprinting, the actual like hands-on, more lab-related stuff. It was definitely a lot of flexibility there with getting stuff done. Like, I'm not mechanically inclined really, so doing actually constructing um, the bioprinter was definitely like a challenge, but it was awesome, and I was very proud when I did it. So there's definitely like a flexibility too for like what is in your wheelhouse and what might be a little less familiar. And I guess the last part, what Kate said too, like the experimental, like the experiments, that was also, I was like, I totally do that sort of data analysis all the time. And it was kind of fun to like, I was kind of joking with my coworkers, like I'm doing like more for my homework than I am for what I'm doing here at work. And I was like, I could just do it here and nobody knows that I'm not doing work stuff. I'm doing my homework. So yeah.
Oh yeah, the exact same with me. Some of those days.
Yeah, like that's great, and it seems like it's almost like we've talked about this twice. Is like it's not just your run-of-the-mill experience of what you would get at, back in undergrad and stuff, where it's like you go to a lecture for 2 hours, you daydream half the time, and then you're on your own for homework to just try to figure it out. It seems like
Yeah.
all of this is being taught in relevancy of what's going on in today's world, the
Right.
lab.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like kind of like people, not that they want to be there more than when you're in college, but it's kind of like you seek it out a little more because you're trying to fill some sort of gap or knowledge gap or something. So it is a little bit, it's like I always said I wish I could go back to college. And then I was like, oh wow, I'm basically back in college now. And like I get to actually just like learn for fun instead of worrying
Yeah,
about the grades. So
absolutely.
it was I totally enjoyed it. So
That's great. Well, thank you both. That was great. Um, and Jessica, we can go to you again because I know you attended the summer in-person lab experience, which
mhm.
some of you that those of you that are attending tonight, we didn't really go over this, but in the summer we do have an optional summer in lab person experience, which has been a big draw for many of our students to be able to get on campus, get in the lab, get some more hands-on. So, Jessica, do you want to tell us a little bit about your experience there?
Yeah, because again, I work in the lab all the time. So I was like, I'm not sure if I'm going to go to this. Like, I know what it's like to work in a lab. But then actually my sister lives in Pittsburgh with her family. So I actually like crashed there for a week. And it was great. And I was enjoying feeling like I was a college student for a week. And, it was first off, it was awesome to meet everyone that I had been seeing online. It just totally felt like I knew them already. And it was great to spend time with them and learn with each other. And like while we were there too, is the same idea. Like you could kind of focus more on what you wanted to get a better understanding of. So like for me, it was more like the bioprinting piece, probably more than like tissue culture stuff because I'm more familiar with that. But it was great. Rochelle was great, and it was like really fun. Like I know that like that agenda was maybe to go like from like 9:30 a.m. to like 3, and everyone was always there till like 5:30 just because it was fun. So I'm sure our professor was exhausted, but yeah, it was really great. And I think like for people that kind of want to understand if they want to go to grad school or like work in a lab or maybe just like they were working in the kitchen for the bioprinting piece, and maybe they want to like see what it's like to print, professionally there in the lab. Then it was a good experience. And I know some people hadn't taken all the courses yet. So like for me, it was during the last I took them in as tissue engineering was the last course. So I went during the summer of that and but it also didn't matter. Like, so some people hadn't done the bioprinting course, but they got to tour the labs and check that stuff out before they take the bioprinting course, which is also cool.
Yeah, that's great. And I know that everyone that I've worked with that has gone to the event as well has had a great time. So just like it's got that level of, you get that hands-on, but you're also building that camaraderie piece and building out your network. And it is great to come to campus and get that
Yeah,
experience.
yeah.
Yeah. And Kate, I know you weren't able to make it, but you can maybe some summer when you're open, you can come back.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome. I mean, I definitely wanted to. As I said, my work has ebbs and flows, so I was actually planning on going, and it just happened to be we had like some big project. I forget what it was, but I wasn't able to go kind of last minute.
Yeah, maybe next year. Who knows? We'll see.
That'd be awesome.
See what happens. Excellent. And this is a great question that we do get quite often from folks looking into the program is as you're going through it, how much are you able to apply at work? I know we kind of mentioned this already between the both of you that you've even done it at work and no one even batted an eye. So it is relative. But Cade, you want to start us off with this on just some of the things that
Yeah,
this might have helped you worked on at work?
sure. I mean, yeah, big one that I brought up. It was brought up in one of the classes. We covered a little bit of kind of bioreactors, and that's a lot of what I work with at my job. Um, and so on these bioreactors, there's all sorts of tubes, pumps, tons of just different places for different liquids to go, and all the connections are all these different plastic pieces, and there's tons of just these millions of these little plastic pieces and different connectors to go to different tubes. It's a whole thing. And a lot of times, it is actually easier to just print new things. If stuff breaks, it's very easy to print new ones. So we have certain people in my lab that are constantly printing these different bioreactors, different potential, like, all, prototype, like, new additions to different bioreactors that we have. Um, and so, I mean, even, and I was even saying earlier, we use these large automated, almost like auto pipetters. If you guys have worked in labs, that called TCAN, and we've also 3D printed all sorts of different pieces for this as well. You guys will kind of see it. I don't know what part of life you're at, but if you worked in engineering, there's always these just tons of just different, like, problems you end up facing at work, and a 3D printer solves a lot of them. And so, kind of like learning CAD through this program has really helped me because there's only a few people that were able to do it at my work. So it kind of gave me another little check, another little box to kind of like check off, like, you want to have these applicable skills to kind of move up and do well at your job. So I'm gonna ramble here, but I did really enjoy learning the CAD. It's helped me a lot.
Yeah,
But yeah,
no rambling. That was great. Appreciate you sharing that. And
gotcha.
Jessica, what about you?
Um, yeah, because like I was talking about this earlier too, but because again, like my background's more biology, like biochemistry, cell biology, but I work at a medical device company. So like, and I work in the bio lab here, so it's a lot of testing different materials, how they interact with cells and tissue, and a lot of in vitro models to test the devices or test the materials that are part of the devices. So it's like, for me, there was always a gap because I like what I've learned about materials has always mostly just been at work. Like it's not like I ever formally learned biomaterials in undergrad. And then like tissue engineering too, that's evolved totally since I've been working. And 3D bioprinting has definitely arisen since I've already been at work. So it's mostly like I feel like just getting the main background information about these different areas, and I can relate them from all the details of the coursework. I can relate it to what I'm doing. So it's not like I'm definitely just like bioprinting now for work because of this, but it's so many other like details and levels that I understand more when I read a paper or when I'm having a conversation with an engineer or kind of planning an in vitro model that we're going to do. I feel like I have more of a basis to go on, and like I just understand like even the bioreactor part that Kate was just talking about, like we don't use those large scale, but we use them for like in vitro models, and like not only the bioprinting but just like understanding what's needed to have a 3D tissue survive and be able to test it and understand the challenges and how the field is evolving has been really good. And then yes, learning CAD. I've always wanted to do that, and I would not say that I'm like phenomenal at it, but yeah, like I'm not afraid of the bioprinter anymore or the 3D printer. So I'm like, even if I'm not doing it, I'm like, I know what they're doing. So yeah, and it was like that was one of the coolest things. And I'm sure Cade, you knew that maybe we're not supposed to talk about the assignments, but we had to like build a tube basically, and like a something like that. And it sounds really easy, but it was cool. It was like challenging. And then when you actually print it, it's very satisfying. And then you try to do that same thing with bioprinting, like a hydrogel that you're printing with. And yeah, it's just, I can't say how much I've learned even just on all these different levels. So yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, it's like this is a really bad analogy, but it's like I had to go to the car mechanic the other day and they were just saying these parts and things that I had no idea what they were talking about. So just understanding the lingo is a big step.
Totally.
Yeah, we definitely hear that from a lot of our students. All right. This is a good one. So, Kate, you can kick us off here. What do you wish you would have known before starting the program? This is always a good question.
I guess I kind of wish I knew the how involved the lab was going to kind of be as I kept setting stuff up, because a lot of it was trial and error. With as Jess was saying earlier, we had to make like kind of like a prototype of like an artery, like a vein. I think it was an artery, out of like some kind of like gel like structure, and the exact recipes weren't really given at first. They wanted you to figure some of it out, which is really fun and cool, but I definitely had to buy a lot of stuff. And you could definitely get certain things for cheaper. Like there's definitely like budget ways that were given if to save money, but kind of just know that like if you want to really get the most out of the class, there's kind of just especially with the at-home lab, you're gonna have to get some stuff to set it up a little bit. And it might cost not tons of money, but you just if you want a
Stir
full-fledged
plate.
lab. Yeah.
Definitely need a stir plate.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Stir plate. Like I was basically building the lab I had at work at home and then buying a bunch of different stuff for it. It was really cool stuff. I really enjoyed it. I think we got there was like pluronics that they were trying to get us to do, which is like
Uh,
it was just crazy. Like, I think it's like a surfactant. I was like, what are we? It was just crazy to see all that in an at-home lab, but pretty
Yeah,
cool.
that's great. Thanks for sharing that. Jessica, what about you?
um, I guess like it's interesting because like I don't want to like it was definitely like a commitment. Like I guess I kind of also thought that originally that because it's online, it would kind of just be like a couple hours a week. So it's definitely like something you do have to commit to. It is like involved, but at the very same time, there's total flexibility. So like if you can't get something done, it's not going to affect your grade or anything like that. Like until like if you have to hand it in a little later, like Kay was saying. So it's like it's definitely like the more you put into it, the more you'll get out of it.
Oh, for sure.
You could like totally skim the stuff and be fine. Um, but you could also like dive really deep and get so much out of it. So it's like, yeah, and it was definitely involved for the bioprinting part for me too. It was a lot more like, oh, I have to print this weekend. Like it was so it but at the same time, again, like I didn't get stressed out. I would show Rochelle that I attempted it and it would be fine. And then I would like learn how to adjust it for the next week. So it's definitely like involved, but also very flexible. Like you can do it while you're working. It's really one night a week of actual class, and the rest you can figure out your own schedule. Um, yeah, and actually, I kind of wish I knew. I didn't realize the same thing that Kate said that you can like transfer the courses so like get
It
credit,
depends
graduate
on the
credit.
program for sure, but I
Yeah,
believe some will accept them, which is cool.
yeah. And I know one person that was at the summer program, she ended up coming, I think, for her master's. So she just had to do like one more year of courses after this at Carnegie Mellon. So I was kind of joking. I'm like, maybe I'll get my master's now. But yeah, I don't know. So yeah, it was I think that's yeah. I'm not sure what else I didn't know before starting, except yeah, like I guess it's like a real you're really taking a real course. That's what I wish I and
Yeah,
I'm glad about. But it wasn't just like a quick certificate program either. Like you
right.
took 3 semesters of graduate level courses and you learned a ton, and there's no exams.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like there's so many opportunities of flexibility in this course, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's easy. So I think
Yeah.
there's like a misconception for this program in particular where it does keep you honest. It creates those good habits of like, hey,
Mm,
I'm gonna actually approach the coursework this week and get it done on time.
mm,
Um, I know from personal experience, like I've tried doing like Coursera courses where it's like you put in like 3 hours and you kind of forget you started it and it gets lost in space.
right.
Uh,
Yeah.
so it seems like both of you, it has that good level of challenge, but the harder the challenge, the sweeter the reward type of
Right.
situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Those were a lot of questions, so thank you both for answering those. That was fantastic. We are going to have an opportunity for all of you attending to do some Q&A with us now that you have us all here. But before we jump into that, I mentioned this before. But if you do have questions, so if you want to dive into the program a little bit deeper, if you want some help in getting an application together for the spring term coming up, Marlene is going to be your go-to. So again, some of you might already be working with Marlene, which is great. But the we just wanted to note that after this session, we will be emailing all of you. So you'll be able to get this recording just so you have it, and you will also have the contact to Marlene. So looking forward to working with all of you. All right, let me stop sharing so that our faces are large now. And if you all have questions, if you haven't used Zoom before, if you scroll to the bottom, there should be a chat feature. And you should be able to go ahead and chat any questions in there. The one, um, the one question that we did get, so some folks were able to put some questions in beforehand. I don't know, Jessica, if you want to start us off, but the actual 3D bioprinter, what do you remember what model it was? Or what
Uh,
kind?
Flash Forge, I think. Is that right, Cade?
Yeah, it was like the one of the cheapest models of Flash Forge that was pretty good, that was still like usable. And
Yeah.
it's a pretty good printer itself. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't know, we got some good I got some good use out of it, at least personally, before we turned it into like a,
Yeah. And
a bioprinter.
yeah, and actually, like once you switch it to once you modify it to be a bioprinter, like you can also switch it back
Yeah, as
to
long as you
being
keep all the
3D.
parts. That I think
Yeah.
that was my issue, is like I like left some parts
Threw them
somewhere,
out.
Right.
and then yeah, I think my stepdad was like, we don't need these. So I
Right.
think I have a permanent bioprinter, but I ended up getting a better 3D printer from one of my coworkers anyways.
Oh, good. Yeah.
So no, now I have both.
Yeah,
Yeah, there
exactly.
you go.
There we go. All right.
Um, I have another question that someone gave us prior to this, and I think it's a really good one. So, what did your management or work think about you taking this class while working full time? They're just curious to hear how your company like gave you the nod or just gave you that go ahead.
For me personally, um, my work's very pro, kind of just any STEM furthering of your knowledge. So I mean, I'm technically in like more chemical engineering, with just like drug products. So it didn't have a ton to do with my exact job, but they did, like, there I was able to sell certain things for them to help pay for some of it. But they were just very excited and interested. Like, some of my managers would ask me about it. They thought it was really cool that I was doing it. Definitely was interested in like the fact that I had like a lab in my basement. I was making like artery cell and artery scaffolds. It was pretty cool stuff. But yeah,
Yeah.
it was kind of like that.
Yeah. What about you, Jessica?
Yeah, I mean, like it's kind of part of because I work at a pretty big company, so there's definitely like an initiative to like reimburse people for continuing education, basically. Um, so it's kind of like part of the career development piece of working. So, but yeah, it was like I even presented some of the stuff I was working on just because we have a pretty small team for the biology group here, but so it was definitely just like people were excited because it is so applicable to doing what we do and making better in vitro models and tissue models. So yeah, it was okay. I mean, it was definitely like sometimes I would be meeting with my manager and I would be like, kind of like, oh, I have so much to do this weekend. Like I'm trying to print this thing and all this stuff. So, but it was, it was busy. It was definitely busier. But also kind of have that like student energy again, which was kind of nice. So it kind of, I feel like it brought back my excitement to be learning again. Not that I haven't been, but you kind of lose it once you're working a while. So it kind of, I'm like more interested again in just like understanding and going to read papers about certain pieces. And, so yeah, I think it's all good. I think if you're where you work, they just want you to keep learning because you just become a better contributor overall.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, that's great. And that's something that we talk about with our prospective students quite often is, I don't know if my work's going to want me to do this or allow me to do this, but we do need to recognize the fact that tuition reimbursement has never been at a higher rate across all companies. They want you to continue to build yourself up and they'll pay you to do it. Um, And so if anyone attending tonight, if you're ever curious and you're like unsure, I don't know if my company would help me out, we can send you sample syllabi, and that's been a huge help for many people. They take our sample syllabi of each of the courses, and you say, hey, here's what basically I'm going to be learning through this. And by the way, I'm not going to skip a beat of work. Most of those are approved for tuition reimbursement. So again, reach out to Marlene, reach out to our team. We're happy to give you those.
Yeah, and actually even for the bioprinting, because we did have to purchase some stuff, you know, like instead of books, you're buying like bio ink or you're buying different materials. So and like CMU was great. Like they made like a, because my work required like a formal sort of list of everything that was purchased to get reimbursed. So like they did that. So it wasn't that complicated to try to get reimbursed if your company does that for this sort of thing. So
Yeah, that's great. Um, we had another pre-question just about you both definitely alluded to this multiple times throughout tonight's session, but they're really this individual's really curious about just the networking capabilities while in the program. Since it's online, they're a little bit concerned of like, do I actually get a chance to network and build relationships with other people during this? So I don't know if either of you want to start that off as far as an answer.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I could start, but I mean, you genuinely do meet the people in your classes. There's definitely reoccurring faces that you see, and then there's a lot of group projects. I mean, there's people that I was texting during the class, like on, just, on just like your regular phone. Like it's not like we're just sending like, school emails to each other. And if you go into it trying to network, it's really, you get in as much as you put it, or you get out as much as you put in. So like, if you really actually, want to network and want to meet people here, I think you absolutely can. Certain classes I met more people, certain times with work I was a little more busy, I wasn't able to meet as many people in the class. It's really just up to you, but you definitely have the opportunity to. And I'm sure if you went to the in-person lab, you would absolutely get a good connection with a lot of these people here.
yeah, like for me, I think it was definitely like the breakout sessions because there's a couple, I guess, in biomaterials and I think tissue engineering too. There were like projects where we kind of a group of people working on stuff. So there would be a lot of like where you'd just be talking to other people online, like during part of the class. And yeah, so you started to get to really know people. And there's definitely like with the in-person week in Pittsburgh, it was I all those people now I know on LinkedIn and stuff. So it's been really good. And like, like I said, there's some people that are physicians, some people are surgeons, some people are mechanical engineers or like Cade doing more chemical engineering stuff. So there's totally like even if all you want to do is understand like what you want to get into or like try to ask someone what their day-to-day is like and you're just trying to figure out what your next step in your career is, it's probably worth it even just for that, besides the classes, because you just learn a lot about like what the field's about and what other people are doing. So yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks for sharing that. Um, I haven't seen any other questions in the chat. Feel free to pop those in, y'all. We still have a little bit of time. Um, Marlene?
I was going to say, I'd like to ask a question. Working with all the prospective students, what advice would you have for some of our attendees tonight who are considering it? Maybe they're on the fence and they're not sure if they should do this program. I know you've talked a lot about all the positives, but any specific advice to them right now?
Well, in general, especially if you have tuition reimbursement, I really think it's a no-brainer. If you do work at a company like that, if you're not already doing something, because it's definitely, it's not as much of a kind of like a time sink or as much of a commitment would be the right word as a master's. It's only 3 courses. It's very doable within the year. And even if you don't have it, I didn't for some of it because I did mine like halfway through one year and halfway through another year. Um, it's not super expensive. I was able to pay out of pocket, and it's not crazy. I think it was worth it for the skills that I got, the people that I met, and even just Carnegie Mellon's a phenomenal engineering institution. I'm sure if you most people that we met were engineers. People were drawn to that. So I don't know. I think it was generally. I definitely am happy that I did it. So I mean, I guess that's all I can say.
Yeah, like I feel like if I was on the fence, like I'm sure people are maybe on the fence because they feel like they don't have enough time and they're not going to be able to do well. But like I said, there's no exams. It's very project and homework based, and you can kind of go at your own pace. Like there is a lot of flexibility. You know, there is like an ultimate deadline for things, but it's like you can kind of learn at your own pace and try to stay up with it. And yeah, I feel like it's definitely time. Like it takes a little, it's not just like an hour a week, but there is flexibility there too. And like Kate said, I think like what you get out of it is really worth it because I really do feel like I took an intensive year of Carnegie Mellon, which is a great
Oh
institution
yeah.
to really just learn and so worth it. So yeah. And yeah, if your work can pay for it, do it. And even if it's like one course, right? Is that right,
Yeah.
Eric? Like
Yeah.
you take one course a year if you wanted to. So like I did the same thing what Kate did. Like because I guess I applied for the scholarship and I got that too, which was helpful. So I know there's scholarship opportunities. And then because there's like a maximum that my company pays, I had to pay a little out of pocket just so when I took tissue engineering, it was the next year. So it was I had already like reached the total amount. So I did pay a little out of pocket just so I could take it right after I took bioprinting. But if I wanted to, I could have waited a year and taken it. I just kind of wanted to, be with the same class and just finish it. So, but yeah, there is flexibility and timing too. You could go at your own pace and not have to pay like out of pocket at all if your work pays for it.
That's great. Yeah, thanks for shedding some light there. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing what some of our students have done. Even had students that they've worked for companies for years and they've never used that benefit. And they said, "Hey, can you like just do me a favor here and just help me out, to get full coverage?" And it's happened. So I think Marlene, you can probably attest to this. No one really knows until you start those conversations with your actual company on what they'll do for you. So we always recommend starting there. And if you feel like you're going to get, coverage that you need, then go for it. And again, Marlene and our team is here the whole way through. So through the application process, getting ready for classes, making sure everything's in order, our team's going to help you all the way through. So that's our commitment. Yeah, and
Yeah, and also like our professor is really great. Like if you feel like you're worried about not understanding some of the content and stuff like that, she does her best to make it no matter what whether you're more of a bio person or engineering person, it's kind of like it's a level that you just kind of take from it what you need or what you can, and it's okay if you can't get down to things at the molecular level, like no organic chemistry is required. I mean, just a little, but yeah. So, um, yeah, so that's great.
yeah, it's great. Dr. Pelchesko she's fantastic. Everyone
Mhm.
loves her, and um, that goes a long way. I've taken a certificate before and I was by myself, period. Like it's either you do it and pass or not, and it's all on you, but it's just totally different here, which is great.
Great.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, Jessica, you mentioned this, like you worked full time, did a year of doing CMU level coursework. Do you feel just like on top of the world right now? Like that you can do anything?
Yeah, I was kind of joking with my sister who, like I said, lives in Pittsburgh. When I went there, I was like the week after the CMU thing, and when like the classes ended, I was like, I miss being a college student again. So yeah, no, it's kind of like I felt at first I'm like, what should I take next? But I'm not really an AI person, so I'm probably not gonna end up. But yeah, it's really exciting. It feels like I just graduated again, so it's fun.
That's awesome. Kate, I'm sure you probably feel the same way of just like, yeah, if I can do that, I can do anything.
Yeah, right. I mean, it definitely, I'm currently looking into getting my master's actually, and just having completed this really makes me feel like I'll be able to do an online master's now. Like it kind of I think really helped set me up for success there.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right. I haven't seen any other questions come through, Marlene. I don't think have you seen anything? Well, if no one else has questions, I mean, again, it's 7:52 Eastern time on a Thursday. I'm sure we all want to go get a snack and get to bed early. So, uh, really appreciate everyone's time, everyone that attended tonight. Jessica, Cade, thank you so much. Marlene, thanks for helping out as well. We're excited to work with you all. So we'll be following up. But have a great rest of your week and thanks again.